making our way through the Saturday card at Churchill Downs, May the 4th. It's the Kentucky Derby undercard. Past performances are now available. You can purchase your packages at shop.drf.com. Everything you need for the Kentucky Derby. They'll have a big clocker report. The daily clocker reports are coming out in articles from Mike Welsh and in video form from Mike Welsh. Those are presented by Spendthrift Farm. You'll have betting strategies, help with analysis, previews of all the races at DRF TV and on the YouTube channel. So much help from DRF, but the important part, the past performances are now available. My good friend Barry Spears will join me to talk about race number 5, the Twin Spires Turf Sprint on Saturday. Barry, you helped me out with the race on Friday, and only a few people were doing double duty. I had to. I always got to put you to work, man. You know how it goes. It's like, you're my guy. I love you. I'll do anything for you, but I'm also going to make you work too. So you know how that goes, and we're now talking about the Twin Spires Turf Sprint race 5 on Saturday at Churchill. We love talking turf sprints because so much chaos can happen. And on paper, this is your typical turf sprint where you can just go in so many directions. All these ways to go. Motorius, who is actually your Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint favorite last year, he shows up in here, and he will be one of the logical contenders. He has a really late wicked rally, and he's actually one that 5.5 is probably a little better than 5, even though he's won at 5. It probably is, for his running style, a little bit better for him here. Others that are just in really nice form and expect to take money. You got Mischief Magic, who was second in the Shaker Town, and a lot of these horses come out of the Shaker Town, and as happens in the turf sprints, there were some trips in there. Big Invasion, he's always going to take money. He was your runner-up in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, and then towards the outside, you have Emon and Cogburn, who are certainly capable, and they're not far out of competing. Cogburn just hasn't run in a while. When I have to kind of decide who I'm even going to start with, that's when the race is challenging. It's like, I don't even know who the starting point to talk with in this race is. Wow, man. Fun race, 14 horses, super difficult for all of your rolling exotics and anything like that. Who are some of the horses you want to start with in here?
Yeah, these races like this, these turf sprints on big days are always great because it's full fields. We got 14, a full gate, and this is just as good as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I did notice about this race, it seems like there's really not that much speed, which is kind of crazy to think about.
For this type of a race, you're absolutely right. And you kind of start going through, there's a lot of pressers, and you feel like they'll end up being horses that will be close. But I mean, because of that, you look to upgrade maybe even a horse like the 11, who's probably one of the faster in here, not necessarily as classy as some others, but he's pretty quick, at least comes out of quick races. There are not that many that are dead set on going to the front here.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to try to use to our advantage here. I mean, you just mentioned the 11, Mr. That horse was outrun back last August at Saratoga in the Troy by Cogburn and a few others. So, not that this horse is, a gauge for the rest of the field, but that just goes to show you how much lack of speed there is. And one horse who I gravitated to initially, and I think I'm going to really kind of press this point home, is number 5, Mustache. I think this horse proved a lot in that race on April 5th at Keeneland. Coming off the bench, going into a 5.5 furlong race, sets this one up great. I mean, this horse was running last year at Tampa, ran a real bang-up race behind Talk of the Nation in the Columbia Stakes, which is a non-graded stake on the Tampa Bay Derby undercard. Ran a spectacular race that day, going a mile. Now this horse is shown having speed going shorter. Being on the lead is probably a huge advantage in a race that doesn't look like it's that loaded with much speed.
And
I can see this horse getting the trip. Yeah.
With turf sprinters, it's very rare where you'll have connections just say, "Hey, this horse is a turf sprinter." Usually, you get back to becoming a turf sprinter because you
Correct.
do things and it didn't work out, and you go, "You know what worked well for us when we started and we were going shorter on the grass? Let's get back to that and see if that's the trip we want." Isolate his 3 5.5 furlong races.
Hmm.
Jump off the page, and they're all really good. And he's shown in those 3 races 3 completely different running styles too, which is
That's good.
what you're looking
Yeah.
for in a turf sprint. His career debut at Ellis going 5.5, he's sitting like third, just a couple lengths off. Then at Keeneland going 5.5, he has a bad start and he's dead last. And he has to come from 10th in that race and he has to navigate and he closes from like 6 lengths out of it. And then in his most recent 5.5 race, he's sitting right off the pace and just showing you that they can use him a little more early because he doesn't have to go as far. So he's a hard horse for me to leave out. I had him picked third in this race, and he's no doubt going to be in all exotics for me because of just what you said. There's not much speed. He should be forwardly placed with Saez aboard, and he has bottom. He has a little foundation from races going longer. Now second start off the bench. He fits really well in
Yeah,
here.
I think the tip off on intent is you see in the past performances, the times that Louis Saez has ridden him, he's always been very, very
Yeah.
forwardly placed, if not on the engine. So that's going to tell you exactly what their intention is. I think
Yeah.
in this race,
Bejarano is the pullback, right?
yep,
And then Saez,
is the
let's
go
go,
guy.
is the
Yeah.
go. Yeah. And
So if that's the intent and what we're seeing is real, I think this horse is going to be really forwardly placed. Cogburn is another one, even though this one is coming off the layoff. Irad doesn't really ride for Asmussen much, but when he does, he wins. And this horse is another one, kind of in the same mold um, of Mustache, but without the longer races. This horse has been sprinting the whole time. I think this horse has a lot of zip and should be able to clear from way outside and get a good position. I don't think this one really wants the lead, and I wouldn't want Irad to be on the lead with this horse anyway.
but
Um,
it's nice to know when you look at the dirt races though that this horse it's a
right. It's
weapon that they can pull if they need to from way out there to at least try to get some positioning, or if no one else is going and they're looking around like, hey, we had a good start, let's just go on with it.
Yep. Yep. Same thing with the other horse that kind of caught my attention, the Rest Me Red, the 12. Sort of same deal. Except this one will be a little bit slightly farther back,
Mm-hmm.
kind of in the second and a half tier, I guess you could say.
What's funny, he
But
won this race 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yep, I was
Mm-hmm.
just going to say that won this race, has some back races to compete at this level. Two nice, decent races on the synthetic coming into this. I
Yeah,
think this one sets up well.
he was
Probably
actually
will get
favored
overlooked
the
because
last
of
2 years
right.
too in this race. Last year he was favored. He finished fifth behind No Balls and Motorius, and 2 years ago he won, and he was 5-2, basically both years. The horse I'm going to use for sure too, Barry, in here is the 6, who Filio de Ariana.
Sure.
So you look through his overall form. His first 3 races, he absolutely crushes in Brazil. He wins the group stakes over there. Then he comes over to the US. So he has 6 races. He's lost 6 times in the US. These are the horses who have beat him in his losses. Golden Pal, who's a 2-time Breeders' Cup winner, an 8-time winner, and has earned $1.8 million. So that's who he faced in his Shakertown in 2022. Following that, he's in the Jaipur at Belmont, and he runs into a horse named Casa Creed. He's lost to Casa Creed twice. This horse has earned 2.6 million, multiple grade 1 winner, just a cool horse, like so fun to root for. And that's who Filio de Ariana ran into back in June. Following that race, after facing Casa Creed, he puts together 3 straight wins at Woodbine, showing speed going like 7 furlongs to a mile. And then he's off from August to April. Shows back up in April at Woodbine. He runs a bang-up race going 5.5. What I like about that is it showed that the 5.5 trip is fine for him. He just lost to a nice horse that day named Rockcrest, who was in good form, and Rockcrest came right back out of that race to win next time out. You start going through all of the races that he lost, and he lost to nice horses who were in good form at the time. One of your favorites, who's made you a lot of money talking on shows with me through the years, Emmanuel, who's a really nice multiple graded stakes winner. A good horse who's probably just a cut below grade one caliber. But like anytime he's in like a group 2 or grade 3 race, he's usually pretty tough in there. And then most recently, off of the bench, he runs into XY Speed, who comes out of that race and wins next time out. And look what happened going 5 furlongs at the start for Filio di Ariana last time out. He's the 2 in this race that we're watching. And he's normally been pretty close to the lead or sitting just off of it. And because of the rail draw here, he just gets shuffled back. He can't get through. And all of a sudden, he has to come from way out of it, something that we've never really seen him do. What I like, though, Barry, actually showed us he can pass horses. Look at the top of the lane. He's still last, but it's sort of like the harness race that, we've mentioned this angle before. He comes running late. You'll see him in between horses here, and it should set him up pretty well for this race if he can just get out of the gate a little bit better.
Yeah, that kind of stuck out to me about that horse's past performances. He really doesn't like that trip, probably needed the race, hence the reason why he didn't get the greatest of starts. Plus he got bumped, ended up going really wide and kind of finished strong, which is what you want to see. My only concern is the distance. He might not like it that short.
He might be 6 to 7-ish better, but at 5.5, he's got way more of a shot than at 5. I wouldn't even have given him a look. I just think that's too short. The 5.5, watching that 5.5 race back there, if he can stay in more striking range, he can certainly finish. And class-wise, he's the type of horse, too, that I like using in these turf sprints because his A games are really good.
Oh, absolutely.
If he shows up with things are going well for him, it's second start off the bench, he gets a right type of trip, he can jump up and run really, really well.
One horse I do want to mention is the 10 Big Invasion.
Please.
And this is one of the horses, it's strange. You get these kind of horses that can close into a slower pace, and when it gets faster, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really understand, like I couldn't tell you why that happens. But if you look at Big Invasion's past performances, and this horse runs short, 5.5 a lot. When the second split is a little bit slower, this horse runs better. And I think this horse is going to get that kind of pace. It's not going to be super sonic fast like a 42, 43 quarter. If it's somewhere around 44, 45, I think this one's going to be great in this spot. And I also think that price is going to go up a little bit because
I agree.
This horse hasn't won in a while. So you put those things aside, if this horse floats up to say 8 to 10 to 1, you got to give him a second look.
What a challenging race. You pointed out Cogburn, and I agree. I think a top tier horse, one that you want. Horse who's past horses, who has big speed as well. And then Motorius, probably the one to hold off. He will come running. His Breeders' Cup race was a little bit weird. He kind of was close up, and then he took back, and then he kind of started moving again in between horses. I think he had a good start, and they ended up closer than they wanted, and Pratt was like, uh-oh, that's not really what he does.
Right,
he took him traffic, back, and it was not bad. Just wasn't kind of the smooth, just take back, make that one late run, which is probably what he really wants. But, so many ways to go. I mean, Coppola was a horse who we liked a little bit last time. He got he was flying in that race. He did get a pretty good trip, though, and just kind of couldn't seal the deal. He was second at the top of the lane, kind of loomed up, and then just didn't go on with it. Man, him showing back up with another good performance wouldn't be a shock at all.
No, not at all. I mean, this horse is really consistent, runs really fast races, runs against the best competition. Look at all those horses in this particular race
that he's
that he's
faced,
run
and he's
against
beat a
and beaten.
lot of
Yes,
them.
he's beaten them.
Mhm.
So that's
Whew.
another one that will probably float up in price that you could probably take a shot with. This is a wide open race. I would say in any multi-race bets, pick three, pick fives, that sort of
You're
thing.
spreading
You
here.
got to spread. This is a really tough race.
You've had I think it was this day here where you hit front run the Fed when he was 12, 15 to 1 or so the last time,
Oh
or
yeah,
this
his
that
last
that was,
win.
I think it was April of 2023, about a year ago
Yeah,
exactly, where
it
he
felt like
came
his last
flying.
win.
Yeah, it did. And because that win at Colonial was against a little bit softer, but he's been in these big races and a big price. He's another one, and that's what happens in races like this where he's capable of winning, but these horses' form get muddied up because they get in traffic, they get in some trouble. You have a layoff or two. Then all of a sudden there'll be 5 races that don't look all that great on the page, but for some of them it's still in there. And a horse like this at 30 to 1, what a challenging race. Race 5 on Saturday, the grade 2 Twin Spires Turf Sprint. Barry, my friend, tell the folks out there where we can hear more of you on Going in Circles and on Big Mondays with Chuck Simon.
Yeah, we're at the Going in Circles podcast, Big Monday, every Monday/Tuesday because it comes out late on Monday. But yeah, we talk about the industry, the state of the game, talk a little handicapping, breeding, everything. We touch on all the subjects, including other sports, basketball, football, baseball, occasionally. So yeah, I mean, we like to get everything out there to the people. It's a little bit longer of a podcast, so it keeps you hanging around. So if you're at the gym, driving, long trips, things like that, we're great for it. Every week, if you want to know what's up with us, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Urban Handicapper, URBN Handicapper, all day, every day on X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you got, I'm on it.
And I want to hear on this episode, you and I are recording on Monday, so we just saw Ant Edwards eat Mr. Durant's lunch in a
Yes, he
4-0
did.
sweep, and he was just talking trash to him after while he was doing it 4-0. And I will give Durant credit. He didn't try to get petty about it afterwards. He said, I'm the
Yeah,
biggest fan
nothing.
of Ant in the league. He was awesome. It was impressive. I love watching this guy play. And then Ant said something like, "I'm gonna rip him when we were in Team USA." He's like, "I'm gonna give him crap when we're on Team USA together and tell him how I sent him home." That dude, he wants to take your lunch. He wants to hurt you, and he's got a little MJ Kobe in. I'm not saying a little in his game, but in his attitude of how he wants to. He's not like doesn't want to be buddy buddy with everyone, but that kind of makes him buddy buddy with everyone. I'm really excited to hear you guys talk some basketball. It's been a fun first round through of the playoffs. So Barry, buddy, love you, my friend. Glad that you had another really great week handicapping the races. Let's keep it rolling over to Kentucky Derby Saturday. Hope we led you in the right direction in the Twin Spires Turf Sprint. Good luck, everyone, as we continue along the big Saturday undercard of Kentucky Derby Day.